have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Welcome back to another edition of the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. This is episode 92, powered by the Fantasy Points Media Group, and we are coming at you live with the energy. Look at Major down there, just exuberant as always. Here we go. We got audio. You know what? That's the main thing.
Calm down, Major. Calm down.
I know he's excited to be here. Oh, we are off to a great start here. We got some good news. We got a great show for you again, as always. If you guys are just tuning in, if you're catching us live, thanks for joining us live. If you're catching us on repeat, we still sound the same as if we're live. So you get the best of both worlds here, week in, week out. And we're going to go right off the presses, hot off the presses. Week 2 was basically Venom versus Carnage, which is out in theaters October 1st. We had injuries galore, especially at the quarterback position. I'm going to turn to you, Calvin, to talk about these quarterbacks. Tua, he is out against the Raiders this week with that rib injury. Tyrod Taylor, IR, hamstring. Carson Wentz, everything. I think he's got a high ankle sprain on the right, a low ankle sprain on the left. Probably something wrong with his knees. I don't know. Andy Dalton's got something wrong with his knees. Looks like Justin Fields is getting the go-ahead. Big Ben's got a left pec injury. Zach Wilson has a mental injury because we've seen the Jets struggle often. How are you breaking this down?
So first of all, I'm glad we're going to get to see Justin Fields. I think that's the one positive out of this. I mean, I hate that it has to be because Andy Dalton, can't go, but I'm glad we're going to get a chance to see him in action this weekend. I think it took a weekend that was already going to be pretty ugly with the matchups and it just made it even uglier potentially. Like Davis Mills and not Davis. Yeah, is that it? Davis Mills. Why did my brain freeze for a second there? Yeah, Davis Mills. And like these quarterbacks we're gonna get to see, like Jacoby Brissett. Like we've known he's not gonna be a great quarterback for long enough now. This is really funny watching. If you're watching this live, Major. Like every action he's made for the last 3 minutes is happening in like a condensed 10-second version, which is fantastic.
It's like watching like Peter Gabriel, like Sledgehammer, that music video. It's like, oh
yeah. It's only slightly distracting, but like whatever performance I could give right now, it's better than what Jacob Eason is going to do this weekend as the Colts quarterback.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty good there. I mean, we're getting Justin Fields, maybe the best thing we're getting out of this whole week. I mean, everyone on the fantasy world is talking about it. We want Justin Fields. Tara, you want Justin Fields, or you think he's not quite there yet?
I want Justin Fields. I may not be as big of a Mooney truther as some people here in the show, but I like Mooney. I roster him, and I would like for the opportunity for him to see some balls down the field. And I want, Allen Robinson as well. And it just it's been tough for them. It's been really tough. And hopefully with Justin Fields getting out there, it'll be a little bit more of an opportunity. I mean, he's a rookie. We'll get a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think it'll be a better situation.
And I'm going to jump around here a little bit. I'm going to head to Major here. He's going to give us a little bit of a sunny California kind of breakdown of the situation going on with the Rams. And Darrell Henderson, he left the game early last week with that rib injury. Is that something we need to be monitoring moving forward?
Absolutely, man. I think the Ravens and the Rams have been just decimated by injuries in the backfield. So you want to keep an eye on that. I mean, Sony Michel, it's his time to shine. So, let's see if he can live up to all the hype from a few years ago.
And I'm going to turn this back to Terry here because I've gone on record a couple times, talked about Dalvin Cook. While I believe he is talented, there is always that risk of him at the number 2 spot in drafts, that injury risk. He's had that history, that dislocated shoulder. He had that ankle injury that I think we need to be monitoring here this week. Now, Zimmer basically said that Dalvin Cook is a tough SOB and he's going to be out there one way or the other. But Tara, is this something we need to be really conscious of moving forward with Dalvin Cook?
I don't think so. Moving forward, maybe for the game script a little, we might want to be a little, I mean, obviously you're still starting him, but you might want to be a little bit worried because it is something that the game between Minnesota and Seattle is definitely projected to be a high scoring one. And they've got a lot of receiving firepower. So they could opt to go that direction a little bit more and take a little bit of the pressure off of Dalvin, but it's not something I would be too concerned about moving forward.
And speaking of under pressure there, Calvin, I want to turn over to you. We're going to Cleveland here. Out with Jarvis Landry. He is on the IR, looks like for 3 weeks at minimum. Maybe Odell Beckham Jr. comes back. How we look at this passing game for Cleveland?
I mean, a competent, efficient-ish passing game that doesn't necessarily rely on one receiver. Look, maybe Odell comes in and plays well. I'm hoping he does. I'm not starting him until I see him healthy and see how he's utilized here. You know, he had problems connecting with Baker even before a lot of the injuries. Now we got missed practice time, things like that to start the season. They're mostly utilizing these running backs and the tight ends and things like that. You might get some deep shots to Anthony Schwartz. I still think he's a good stash in a dynasty league. Maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones, but Schwartz has really kind of been outplaying him. I think Baker is playing well. I just think Baker's ceiling is capped until we get better receiving options.
Then speaking of receiving options, Major, I'm going to go to you here. Deonte Johnson, like last play of the game for the Steelers, as a fantasy manager, what were you thinking when he went down with that knee injury? It sounds like he's going to be okay. He avoided anything major going on, but last play of the game, essentially, what are your thoughts? Speechless. I see your lips moving.
Okay, I pulled a Matt. Yeah. So, any injury at the end of the game is just that's the worst. So I really felt bad for him, but I was really happy. That sounds bad. I was really happy for the other receivers because I think it's kind of crowded in that receiver room. So I think Juju and Claypool would have had a better chance of target share, but I think he's going to be all right. Hopefully he can get in there and play because the guy is having a pretty good season so far.
So I got to ask this question now because I'm going to let my Raiders homerism kind of come out here. You're talking Juju Smith-Schuster. You're talking Deonte Johnson, who had a pretty solid game. You're talking Chase Claypool was We've been making fun of this Raiders defense for a few years. Are you more alarmed of the lack of production coming from the Steelers last week? Or is it maybe more of a, maybe the Raiders aren't as bad as we thought they were? Or is this are we concerned about the Steelers trio that we all thought had potential to be 1,000-yard receivers before the season started? Calvin.
I'm not concerned yet, but that is more of a philosophical thing. I think we've got 2 data points, right? And I think it's one of those things where we have to make sure we're doing a really good job of being reacting, not underreacting, but not overreacting. And I think it's one of those things where if you look back at the top 5 list at each position from last season after 2 weeks, things like that, like, Jonnu Smith was the number 1 tight end after 2 weeks last year. Malcolm Brown was a top 12 running back after 2 weeks last year. Just keep in mind the perspective of 2 weeks is just 2 weeks. Let's not overreact. And, I haven't seen anything that's changed my projection on them yet, Matt, but, a couple more weeks where we don't see it, then, certainly could get back to that.
Well, I am going to overreact because we're 2-0, so I'm going to let it go. Anyway, let's talk about some bold predictions from last week. We all missed. Let's be straight up. I'll be right out. We all missed on our bold predictions. Even Calvin missed on his Kadarius Toney passing him in receiving yards prediction. I had Calvin keeping ahead of Kadarius Toney. I've got film. I got proof of this. Yeah. I've got receipts, whatever you want to call it. I took Calvin over Kadarius Toney. Mm-hmm. Calvin took Kadarius Toney over himself. And it's still Calvin Shoemake.
I won?
Yeah, you
and lost?
I think he's still -2. I think right now through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So first prediction here, Tara, you went Javonte Williams, 70 plus yards and a touchdown, running or receiving. You got the yardage. You missed the tutty.
Yeah. I feel kind of played by Denver. I expected a lot more out of both Javonte and, I guess maybe that's one of my misses. I expected a lot more out of Javonte and Melvin Gordon, and they kind of let me down. A little bit concerned there because of the way that Houston performed against that defense. And so I really expected them to do better. I thought it was actually a very safe and not so bold pick. I thought I was being slick there, and apparently I wasn't. So, 1-0.
Well, it wasn't quite as bold as Chase Edmonds as a top 24 running back, but it was right up there. Major did go bold. He decided to go with the AFC West and the NFC West both stay undefeated. Now, we know what happened in the Ravens-Chiefs game. We know the Seahawks lost as well. You know what? I applaud you. That's basically trying to make 8 predictions in one.
Mm-hmm.
And you still missed. So we give you the big L on this week.
You should have seen the early games. I was 4-0. I was going nuts. I was like calling Party Center and try to order streamers and lights and all kind of stuff. I was about to go crazy in here. And what was the next game? One of the other games, I won, and I'm like, yes, I got it. But the Chiefs, come on, dude. The Chiefs, you should win every game. The Seahawks, you're a really good team. You should win. And the Chargers is like a really good team, like on the rise. That's the game I was more worried about because Dallas is like so hit and miss, but I was almost there. I was so close.
Well, let's talk about I don't think Tara, Calvin, or myself could have handled you nailing another bold prediction.
It would have been
I would have loved it. I would have loved every second of it. I was pulling for it hard.
Dallas wins with a game-winning field goal to close it out.
That broke me.
Seattle was beating Tennessee all game long.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs had the Ravens right where they wanted them, right until that fumble at the very end. You were really close, like one play in each game away from that happening. But you know what? Sorry, an L's an L. Calvin, you thought you had yourself one here set. You went Najee Harris against the Raiders as a top 5 running back. Well, going into Monday Night Football, we know what Aaron Jones did. But going into Monday Night Football, he was the RB11. So you missed that. I think he was just outside of the.
He was the RB7 in PPR. You must be looking at standard. He was the RB7 this week. He did really good. I was really close. He was
that before the Monday night?
Away.
Was that before Monday night, or is that?
No, that's everything week 2.
You know what? Doesn't matter. You still get the L on that one.
We just fact check. We don't do that here.
So look, 0-2. But look, I said my first one was that Jalen Hurts was going to be a QB1, was going to be the QB1. He was awesome. Like if you took what I said and started him, it worked out for you. If you were excited about Najee Harris last week, he finishes the RB7. You're excited about that. So I'm 0-2 technically. But I think I'm still nailing it.
You know, if we were playing Calvin, if we were playing like horseshoes or hand grenades, you would be nailing it right now.
Yeah.
But we're not. And I missed on my prediction too. So anyway, moving on. No, I went both too. I took Chubb and Hunt as finishing RB1s. I said Sanders and Gainwell will finish in the top 15. Well, Chubb did his job. He got to where he needed to be. Unfortunately, Sanders was like RB21. I think Hunt was 35. I think Gainwell was 38. Give or take, not even close. It doesn't matter if we're playing horseshoe. If we're playing horseshoes, I threw it into the other pit, okay? We were way off on this. But you know what? It's a new week. I got another couple bold predictions here. Tara's already called me out on the one, so I have a backup one just in case, because if Tara doesn't think it's bold, it can't be very bold.
It can't be super bold if it almost already happened. So, I mean, that's my theory.
Wow. Well, we'll get into that. We'll ask the people which one I have to go with. I have a pretty good idea which one they're going to want me to go with, because no one likes to see me succeed here when it comes to my predictions. I do a pretty good job myself, shoot myself in the foot there. But anyway, studs and duds of week 2. Tara, who's your stud? Who's your dud? Let us hear it.
My stud is Kyler Murray. I don't think I have to explain it at all. I was really feeling Kyler Murray QB1 overall for the entire season coming into the season, and I'm still feeling it, and I'm going to feel it all the way through the season. He's incredible. I mean, he will literally drag your team to the playoffs and to the championship. And I made a joke in a video the other day saying that you should roster literally any receiver that he throws to. That I was like, oh, okay, maybe not any receiver. But I mean, it kind of was looking like literally anybody can catch the ball when Kyler's throwing and succeed and be fantasy relevant. So yeah, he's the super, super duper side of the week for me. And then my dud is just New Orleans as a whole. I'm sorry. I was told that there was going to be offensive firepower coming from New Orleans. I told this was it was a good situation for Kamara. I'm still waiting for my Kamara points to come through. I'm disappointed and I feel misled. Calvin, I don't know. What are your opinions?
I was told Jameis Winston was an MVP. I don't know what you're talking about. So I was misled too.
It hurts.
I think we were all misled on that. And you know what? I love that. I love that Kyler Murray as like the MVP until week 12, and then things start going the other direction.
But here's the thing: like the good news is we know exactly what the fix is. Like I think we just need Jameis needs to go get his LASIK booster shot. Whatever. Like I don't know if that's a thing or if he can get it a second time. Whatever it is that fixed him the first time, he needs to do that again.
Yes.
I don't know if that's how it works, but he might be able to get 2 or 3 games out of it.
I was told that was the fix, though.
Or just re-blind him. Just like
Re-blind
go back to blurry Jameis.
Well, Tara wants to re-blind people. Major love
it and plugging it back in.
Major loves seeing people get hurt at the end of the games because it's good for other receivers. Who are your studs and duds, Major, for week 2?
I'm going with Teddy Bridgewater as my stud. The guy never gets talked about, and all he does is perform. He had a great silent start to the season with 2 touchdowns in week 1, 2 TDs in the second week, 328 yards. We know the injury he recovered from kind of led to him kind of bouncing around, becoming a journeyman, but I think he's found his home in Denver. Yeah, but no one talks about Teddy P, but we see you, big dog. You got this, man. And my dud is going to be Matt Ryan, the former MVP. You're not playing like it. It's just it's awful to see like a great quarterback just fall off the wagon so hard. Yes, he did throw for 300 yards last week, but he threw 3 interceptions, and his team has gotten blown out the last 2 weeks. So you know that would never happen to like a Brady or I don't know, whoever else is an MVP. Like some players just put the team on their back. Let's not do that. Put their team on their back and then win the game for the team. So I think Matt Ryan needs to actually like figure that out because they passed up on a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft to keep him around. So I think I don't know what their game plan was, but like he's not what he used to be. So that's a sad thing to see. But yeah, that was my 2.
Well, every week the Atlanta Falcons are on to Cincinnati, and we're on to Calvin now. Who are your studs and duds for week 2?
Love seeing Derrick Henry bounce back. One of the things that I noticed in week 1 is that he actually had a decent amount for him of 3 receptions, which I thought that's for Derrick Henry. That's impressive. He actually then ended up with, I believe, 5 this week. So if Derrick Henry is going to be doing Derrick Henry things on the ground and getting utilized in the passing game, boy, this could be a really special season for him. So talk about stud. He could absolutely be that stud if he picks up any value in PPR in that way. And then my dud is Dak. Look, we thought that this could be a shootout against the Chargers. He didn't throw for a touchdown. Threw an interception. But hey, this Chargers defense actually might be legit against quarterbacks. Only gave up 12.65 fantasy points to Washington and then 11.85 to Dallas. Dude, they are good right now. And I don't know. It's going to be an interesting matchup this week for sure, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this Cowboys matchup here this week as well and what that could mean. But we thought about the same thing like you said. We thought the Chargers and Cowboys would give us a fantastic show. My dud is, I think Tara kind of touched on it. We're talking about the Saints offense. We know that Saints offense runs through Alvin Kamara. 8 carries for 5 yards. Jameis Winston, Tyson Hill there, Jones, they all had more yards rushing than Alvin Kamara did last week. He had 4 catches on 6 targets for 25 yards. That's 30 yards from scrimmage. That's essentially, in standard leagues, that's like 2 points. You know what? Throw those receptions in there. He got you a fantastic 6-point performance in full PPR. If you're lucky. That is not Alvin Kamara type numbers. That's not what you expect from him. And now my stud, Derek Carr. Put some respect on the man's name. You know what? I really thought Tara was going to go with Aaron Jones after that 4-tutty game that he had there on Monday Night Football. So I left him purposely on there. I went, I'll go with Derek Carr. We're talking about through 2 weeks. He is the QB8 right now, 62 of 93 for 817 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception against the praised Pittsburgh Steelers defense and the fantastic Baltimore Ravens defense. But this is not just 2 weeks in. If you look at his last 6 games, it has been against really good defenses. Indianapolis, Miami. These are all teams that he ended up last season with. He played really good. He is a QB1, I think, the rest of the season. I think he's going to give you that. When you look back at the end of the year, he's going to be that QB10 to QB12 range. You'd be like, what the heck? How did Derek Carr get here? And you're going to be wondering about it. But even last week, we talked about the Steelers, 28 of 37, 382 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's 2-0. There's my stud of the week. Now, we like to talk about our hits and misses and victory laps and this and that. Tara, you put that video out there. We seen it on Fantasy Alarm. Let's hear that hit.
Oh, yeah. KJ Osborne. And I know it's weird because why am I obviously so high on everything that's apparently not Green Bay? But I am super excited that I hit on him. I, doubled down in week 1. He had 7 of 9 for 76 yards. And then last week he was able to get another 5 receptions and good yardage and a touchdown. So yeah, I kind of nailed that one. He seems to be quickly becoming the third option. They're just kind of fading the tight end position there in Minnesota. So super happy about that. And then my miss, yeah, again, I touched on it. It was the Denver backfield. I'm not going to lie. I don't understand that one. I'm a little bit concerned there. They were playing Jacksonville and, in week 1, Houston literally lit up Jacksonville from a running back perspective with every single running back that they have on the roster who are arguably, the bottom tier running backs in the NFL period, scoring touchdowns, all of them. So I don't really understand what happened there. So yeah, it was a miss. It shouldn't have been a miss, but it was a miss. Yeah.
Maybe we're just not giving Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves, the respect that he deserves. Carolina, he supported 3 top 25 wide receivers. Last week, Cortland Sutton led all receivers in air yards. Like maybe Teddy Bridgewater, he's like Maverick here when it comes to Top Gun. He's ready to let it roll. He's going to go into the danger zone each and every week. Major hit, miss. Let's hear it.
I hit on Derrick Henry in my game of the week last week. I talked about Tennessee getting back to the running game, and that's what they did. Someone's listening to the show and giving his information to that organization. They gave him the ball 35 times for 185 yards, 3 TDs in the win over Seattle. So, we give good predictions here, and people listen. They're coming here for the information. Coaches, the GMs, everyone's coming to ViperCast to get their information to win games. My miss is my MVP candidate. I'm still with him, but Winston, I was going to get my LASIK surgery as well. I was in line, and I seen the guy went back to reality. They're waiting for 0 touchdowns and 2 picks. I just don't understand Winston. Like, how do you go from 5 TDs to 2 interceptions? Like, next week he's probably going to throw 10 touchdowns. Like, the guy is so volatile is kind of ridiculous, but hopefully he can get back on track because he has a great opportunity to be the guy out there, but I think he's trying to give the job away. I just don't get it.
Speaking of giving everything away, Man, I did not give anything to Tyler Lockett, and through 2 weeks, he is making me eat my words right now. But it's still only 2 weeks. Calvin, who hit, who missed for you?
Everybody's excited about Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel and DeAndre Hopkins and maybe Jacoby Myers. All of those wide receivers are looking up in the fantasy points column up at Tyler Lockett because he has been unbelievable. Yeah, over the last offseason, one of the first shows that I did was with Matt Waldman, and he talked about the addition of Shane Waldron as the OC and what that was going to do for Tyler Lockett's value. He really pumped up and thought that Tyler Lockett could be the best receiver in Seattle, which was very controversial, certainly at the time. But look, through 2 games, it's certainly right. Now, we've seen him have some ups and some downs, but this looks really good. And this is a different system. I wouldn't expect what's happened in the past to continue to happen here. But man, he's exciting. He's an exciting receiver. He's a great receiver. Go look up Matt Harmon's, reception perception on him. It's fun right now watching Tyler Lockett do his thing.
And who might argue with Matt Waldman, man? The dude's a genius. He knows what he's talking about. Go get that RSP there for him. Go get that subscription, whatever you got to do. You want to make sure you're catching him. Speaking of subscriptions, head over to fantasypoints.com. Enter promo code 21Vipers10. Get 10% off your Fantasy Points subscription. You want to know where I'm getting these numbers from on my Thursday night preview show, which I just dropped here a little bit earlier. It's coming from Fantasy Points. I'm getting all that information from there. It's coming right. What I'm getting from there, I'm bringing right to you. Get it right there. Get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Go to fantasypoints.com, enter that code, save 10%, and be smarter. All right? Hits and misses. Someone on this show basically told me last week, don't worry about Corey Davis. Bill Belichick's going to take him out. I didn't trust him because it's always Corey Davis season. I believe in Corey Davis. It wasn't there last week. It really wasn't. So there's my miss. But boy, did I make up for it with J.D. McKissick. Y'all can McKissick my butt on this one. You know what I'm saying? And that's PG because I know my kids are probably going to tune in at some point, catch that. And yeah, you know what? I started in the Kings Classic. I literally started a lineup with Sterling Shepard, Rondell Moore, and J.D. McKissick winning right there. Easy. Nice. But you don't look at it. It's not that lineup. You're like, oh man, I'm scared. No. That was like, these are guys you can trust. I think you trust all of them going forward and having a very good role. I think we touched on Tara mentioning Arizona there and Kyler Murray and his pass catches. Rondell Moore is one of them. Sterling Shepard, all he does is get targets and catch passes. I think that's going to be, we've seen it through 2 weeks. It's now a trend. And J.D. McKissick, I'm sorry, Antonio Gibson truthers, I don't think you're going to get the run on them that you think you were going to get at the beginning of the season, myself included. I thought Antonio Gibson was going to be a top 12 running back, a clear-cut RB1, and now I think he's probably back end of RB1 territory, start of RB2 territory. You're getting good value out of him one way or the other, but McKissick has a role going forward, and that's not going to change, especially with Heineke coming in. I just wanted to find a way to get Heineke in there because Heineke is a fun word to say.
You can McKissick your Heineke?
Oh, that's
there is your fantasy football team name right there. If you're looking for one,
McKissick your Heineke.
McKissick your Heineke.
McKissick
Nice.
my Heineke.
Nice.
That's the best fantasy team name right there.
Now we are getting into the preview show portion of this, and we've got some 4 heavyweight matchups here that we want to talk about, and we are going to start off in the Great Lakes state itself there. We're going to Minnesota. We're talking Seattle. We're talking Tera. It's Tera time with the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings.
So yeah, it's this is definitely my game of the week in terms of players that you're targeting, you're starting. I mean, it's literally a full go on anyone and everyone in the lineup. You can depend on if you want to start Kirk Cousins this week. I think he's a good option to start as well. Even if you wanted to use him as a QB1 option in this particular matchup. Obviously, Thielen, Jefferson. I know Jefferson's been a little bit lower on volume than we like, but I know that's going to pick up soon. And then you've got Dalvin Cook again, and Seattle. We've got Russ, DK, Lockett. Chris Carson is also a very good option this week as well. So really just a star-studded lineup that you're starting. And then on top of that, you've also got my sneaky play of the week, which obviously is going to be KJ Osborne. I'm triple downing on it. I don't even know if if it's like a double-double or a triple. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm doing it. I think that, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. When Irv Smith went down, I was very confident in Irv Smith, and I thought it was going to be a nice breakout year for him. I had a lot of Irv Smith. That was a little painful just because of the connection that he has with Kirk Cousins. And unfortunately, when he went down, Tyler Conklin obviously stepped in to take over the lead there, but it seems like they're kind of pivoting away from the tight ends in general and going to finding that wide receiver 3 that they've never had before. It wasn't really there last year at all. So letting KJ Osborne step into that role, and it's not kind of if you look over at, let's say, the Rams, and you look at maybe like a Van Jefferson in the third receiver situation, and you see production out of him, but it's kind of like it's boom, it's big play. He's getting hit for a long touchdown to get that performance. But with KJ Osborne, he's seeing a significant amount of targets, and it's very steady. And I think that's going to continue as we go through the season. So again, for me, he is my sneaky play of the week. And, who am I fading? Obviously, for me, it's the tight ends. I'm a little skeptical of Gerald Everett. I know we've heard a lot about the involvement that he's going to have from a production standpoint. Week 1 was all right. Week 2 was looking very, very sketchy. And I'm a little bit worried that he's going to get lost in the greatness of Lockett, who apparently is going to be a little more steady than we've seen in past years. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that from a tight end perspective. And then in terms of how this is affecting fantasy squads, again, this is actually the highest over-under of the week. Huge value in terms of fantasy production, points scored. And, I think it'll be a similar situation to where someone or maybe multiple someones out of this game get towards that Aaron Jones, maybe Derrick Henry area as well, where when you're facing them, you're like, oh, crap, I don't really stand a chance. And so, unfortunately, good luck to people that are facing your Lockett's and your Thielens and Jeffersons in this game, because I think they might have a little bit advantage if you're playing against them.
Well, it's safe to say that both Tera and KJ Osborne definitely like it coming from Kirk Cousins so far in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Major, do we have a problem? Do we have a problem in San Francisco? 17 points against the Eagles? Talk about us. What's your game of the week?
My game of the week is Tera Green Bay Packers versus the greatest team ever, the San Francisco 49ers.
We don't like Kyle Shanahan.
Oh man, don't do that. So there's something up with Rodgers and like the 49ers. That's his favorite team growing up as a child. But he has a losing record throughout his career. He's 4-6 against the Niners and 1-4 in Levi Stadium. It could be that he got snubbed by the 49ers in 05, so he is they hold some kind of power over him or something like that. But with that being said, the Niners secondary is beat up. Like everyone's injured again. Like we have like the worst injuries every season, seems like. And after a forgettable week 1, Rodgers looked like he's back on track. The guy's dropping dimes everywhere. Aaron Jones is catching touchdowns out the backfield. So I see that Rodgers may have a pretty good game. Just because that secondary is beat up, and if they can keep that D line off of him, he's going to perform well. On the 49ers team, Debo is like the man right now. Debo's looking really good. He's making plays all over the season. He's leading the league in reception yards, and he's averaging 19 yards per catch. The 49ers they need to figure out what's going on with Ayuk, but until we figure that out, Debo is the man in San Francisco, and it looks like him and Jimmy G has a pretty good connection going on right now. What's the second question? I'm sorry. This computer's not working.
Who are you fading?
Oh, I am fading. whoever the running back is for the 49ers. Again, more injuries, like maybe Trenton Cannon's going to play. Who knows? Like maybe Elijah Mitchell gets, he's not as injured as we thought. He may not be 90 to 100%, but I'm just fading anyone in that system. We all know Shanahan is kind of plug and play at running back, but it's getting pretty thin right now. Like Trent Cannon is a journeyman, and he's I don't think he's ever run for more than 50, 60 yards throughout his career. So I'm just fading all running backs in San Fran right now.
Yeah, we talked about how Baltimore was affected by the running back position. San Francisco's in that same boat there. Mostert there, he's out for the season. Hasty, he's out for a while now. He's going to the IR as well. You're down to bad shoulder injury. I believe it was a shoulder for Elijah Mitchell. You've got concussion for Trey Sermon. The healthiest running back is Carry On, My Wayward Son.
Oh, yeah, he's there, right? Yeah. We're just grabbing people off the street. At this point, we're just grabbing people off the street. So I don't know. My sneaky player of the week, though, is going to be, I hate to do it, but this is more from the heart, not from the head. I'm going with Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk. Like, please, man, please. I'll draft you as like a wide receiver 1 in most of my leagues. Like, come on, dude. But
so I want to ask you this here. When you're talking about Brandon Ayuk as a sneaky play, are you that guy that if you have him in your lineup or on your roster that you're like, I got to play you because I'd rather you blow up in my lineup than blow up on my bench? Are you kind of almost feeling handcuffed where you have to still start him even though you know in your head that this is a bad idea?
Absolutely. Like, I was picking. He's my first receiver off the board in a few of my drafts. So like I'm invested. I need some kind of return on my investment. Like, but it's a gradual growth right now. We were inactive week 1, week 2 we go 1 for 6 yards. Week 3 we blow up. You know what I mean? So we're
if you follow the trends, which I like to believe in, he's on pace for 2 receptions this week, about 12 yards. We got a question coming in here right now. I think it's going to be a clean sweep across the board. Mecky to go kind of asked us, Rondell Moore, Robbie Anderson, Cordell Patterson, Mike Davis. Let's go around the horn here real quick. Calvin, who do you say?
Rondell Moore, easy.
Moore.
Major.
Moore.
Tara.
Yep, Rondell Moore.
Absolutely. It's Rondell Moore in a landslide. Robbie Anderson's getting 11% of the target share. Cordell Patterson, maybe a one-hit wonder. Mike Davis, you're not trusting anyone in that backfield at Atlanta. Rondell Moore, Major just touched on Deebo Samuel being like leading the league in yak yards. Number 2 by like 4 yards behind him is Rondell Moore. So get him in your lineup regardless of how it's looking. Anyway, back to you, Major. How do you see this Green Bay San Francisco matchup working out for fantasy managers and how it's going to all break down when it's all said and done?
Yeah, it's going to be a pass-heavy game for both teams. One, Green Bay has a mismatch at receiver. I don't think anyone on that team can like mess with any of the receivers in Green Bay, let alone like Adams. Like, you know what I mean? So not Adams. What's the main guy? My brain's all over the place.
For what?
The Green Bay's top receiver.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Right.
Devontae Adams.
Adams. Okay, I was right. All right. And then, San Francisco, they don't have a running game, so they're going to have to throw the ball. Like, that can be a dangerous combination for Jimmy G having to throw the ball more than 30 times. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be high scoring, and there's going to be a lot of fantasy points for the wide receivers and quarterbacks.
Okay, so a little side note. Chris Thompson was signed to the practice squad. Would it not be crazy if Chris Thompson was signed onto the team before Lev Bell made it off of practice squad for Baltimore? How wild would that be? I kind of want to see it happen.
I'm all with you on that one. I'd love to see that happen as well. So I already know my answer. I'm pretty sure Calvin doesn't change. I'm pretty sure Major doesn't change. But Tara, Mecky to go wants to throw in there. He's also got your boy there, KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne and Rondell Moore. Where are you going? Where's your lot?
Oh, that does make it complicated. So even though Seattle, Minnesota is extremely high scoring, there's going to be some level of insanity, in my opinion, with that Arizona game. And it's very possible that Kyler throws for the most yards ever in a game. And so in that case, yes, ever.
See, that would
ever
be a
in a
bold
game.
take.
You're right. That would be
No.
a bold take. I got to look at what that number is before I would make that actual take on paper. But yeah, for that reason, I'd probably go Rondell just because it's going to be just kind of insanity there, in my opinion.
All right, I love it there. I'm all still with Rondell Moore here. He's a different beast altogether. Calvin, pass catchers galore in this next matchup. Tell us about him.
So I'm really excited. So first of all, just from a real life NFL standpoint, Tampa Bay versus the Rams could be for supremacy in the NFC, right? I mean, the Packers stumbled out of the gate. They looked okay against the Lions. We'll see how much that means. San Francisco's been pretty good. But I think like most people saw the Rams, Sean McVay, he gets Matt Stafford. We were supposed to have a juggernaut defense over there, right? But we'll see. That's got to come together still. And then Tampa Bay brings everybody back, and they've looked completely unstoppable so far. Here's the thing. Tom Brady's the GOAT, right? The best to ever do this. One of the things that sets him apart is his mental game. He's so focused on one step at a time, never getting distracted. But if there was one thing that could distract Tom Brady, it would be knowing that the following week he's going to New England. Let's see if he overlooks this game, because if you overlook this defense with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and the rest of the options there, that could be bad news. Now, if anybody could avoid not overlooking it, it's Brady, but that's definitely something I'm watching for. You're starting Brady, you're starting Godwin, you're definitely starting Gronk, who apparently just scores 2 touchdowns every game now, all of a sudden. Staying on Tampa Bay side, I'm not sure I'm going to start Mike Evans. I know he was really good this past week. He does get Jalen Ramsey, though. So I'm not sure I want to we know Mike Evans can be shut down by the best receivers in the league and our best cornerbacks. No, we're going to touch on Kyle Pitts in just a little bit here, Bob. On the other side, Stafford, Kupp, and you know what? Robert Woods gets back on track this week too. I think this is the right secondary for him to get back on track. I think they're going to be chasing points, and I think Stafford is capable of making sure that he hits him. And I imagine in that locker room, he knows he needs Robert Woods in a few months. He wants to keep him happy. He wants to keep him fed. I fully expect for this to be a good Robert Woods game this week.
If there's anything, you mentioned that New England game being a distraction. I don't think he's going to have time to think about that with Aaron Donald pressing that pocket right up the middle. That'll be enough to keep. That'll be more than enough, I think, to keep Tom Brady kind of engaged in this matchup here this week. But this is all, I love this one. It's fantastic. You know what? It's a real heavyweight battle. You talk about this. These are 2 of the favored Super Bowl contenders lining up early in the season. They've both off to good starts there. Tom Brady's throwing like 5 touchdowns a game. Cooper Kupp's catching like 40 passes per game. Don't fact check me. That may be a slight exaggeration. I don't think I'm off too far, but we're looking at this. So one of my favorite articles to take a look at of all the places is, like I said, I go to Fantasy Points for a lot of my information. Oh, did I freeze up? Okay. I go to Fantasy Points for a lot of my information. We're part of the Fantasy Points media group, but Wes Huber, he looks inside these matchups each and every week. And then Joe Dolan gets involved there. Tom Broly, they do something. And you don't want to miss it. This is maybe my favorite article I read every single week. It's kind of breaks down everything you could possibly want. It's basically their game hubs. They go through each and every matchup. Make sure you head over there. Again, use promo code 21Vipers10, save 10% off every subscription. Now, my game of the week here, I'm going back to America's team here, Dallas Cowboys. We talked about them being a good matchup last week. We talked about Philadelphia and San Francisco being a good matchup. Neither one of them gave us the fireworks that we were expecting. But you know what? They come against each other. Neither team can play defense in the secondary. I'm looking forward to this. I think we're going to see some huge potential for fantasy points out there. I mean, Jalen Hurts, you're going to put him in. He's a top 8 fantasy quarterback no matter how you roll the dice. He may only throw for 200 yards, but he's going to get you 80 yards on the ground plus a touchdown. at the end of the day, he's going to be a quarterback one when it's all said and done. Dak Prescott, I think he gets back on track with this Eagles secondary. And the big thing that we're missing here is Brandon Graham blew his Achilles tendon. He is out. He is probably their best edge rusher that the Eagles have. They've still got Fletcher Cox and Hargrave coming up the middle, but there's no edge pressure for them. So that's something I'm really watching this whole game, is where that pressure for the Eagles is coming from. And if it's just coming up the middle, then look out, because Tony Pollard there, he's going to absolutely eat this week. I think he's going to outperform Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if that's a bold prediction. We've already seen it happen, so you can't be a bold prediction. Right, Tara?
Exactly.
But you're going to start Dak. You're going to start CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper's a little banged up, but you're going to start him too. Fire up Pollard. Fire up Zeke. You know, I think Devontae Smith is a good matchup here this week. I think Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz has got a little bit of the COVID thing, IR right now at this time. I think Dallas Goedert is going to be a good play as well, if you look inside those numbers. And then Miles Sanders could be a sneaky kind of slide in there, but he's not my big-time sneak play of the week. Cedric Wilson, the way Dak's been spreading that ball around, we've watched what he's been doing. He could be that guy that has that surprising week for us. But my big play of the week is going to be Jalen Reagor. We'll talk about him a little bit later as well. Quez Watkins is the guy I'm fading here. He had a huge week last week, but it was all on basically one play. He had 2 catches for 117 yards, but a 91-yard reception. He only had the 2 targets. We'll get into my bold play a little bit, why I believe in Jalen Reagor a little bit later, but you know what? This is my game of the week. I think there's going to be some serious production here coming out of this matchup. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at there. I really think it's going to be good. I think all these matchups are going to be good. I think if you're looking for your fantasy points, a good chunk of them are going to come from this slate of games right here. Now, Tara, who is that player still on the waivers that you need to grab tonight?
Oh, it's Daniel Jones. I made a little tweet about it. I've been really, really loving unconventional quarterbacks this season. It's starting a little Jared Goff, being perfectly fine with Daniel Jones because he's actually a top 5 QB thus far. I know we don't like to hear it. I know it's sometimes not fun to watch. And I know we like to make fun of him for things because, he's easy to make fun of. He's kind of like Eli Manning 2.0. And I also love Eli Manning. So I guess that's where this is all making sense. But I really statistically, Daniel Jones just makes sense. I mean, he's always been very productive on the running side. The yardage that he had on the ground is the same yardage that Josh Allen had on the ground last year. The only difference is that Josh Allen actually reaches the end zone at a very high rate. And I almost called him Eli. And Daniel Jones never really had that. And it looks like they've actually really tried to focus on honing in on things that he does well and helping him succeed in that way. And he's very successful on the ground. So he's been getting those red zone, end zone touches and being able to score touchdowns, and it's making him highly productive from a fantasy perspective. So, I know it seems funny to want to start Daniel Jones, but legitimately he's a QB1 right now. Don't be afraid of it. Go get him.
Major, give me someone.
I'm going with Tony Pollard. You spoke about him a little bit earlier, but he's the best running back in the whole state of Texas. Respectfully, Ezekiel, but Bijan Robinson might have something to say that with Texas Longhorns, but Pollard, every time, like last week they played in LA, so I watched the game and I seen it live. Every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he was going to take it to the house. I just don't understand. I do understand because they have Ezekiel, they pay him a lot of money and they have to put him on the field, but it seems like Tony Pollard should be the first, second, third down back, maybe. I don't know. I think Dallas will lean on Pollard a little bit more moving forward. I think the only thing holding Pollard back is that Zeke contract. So look for Pollard to have a really a breakout season this year.
Yeah, we know Jerry Jones, if he's going to spend the money, he wants to see that money get put to use there. So I think this is going to be a timeshare that we see all season, probably closer to 60-30 for Elliott just based on that cap number. But I think Pollard still is going to outproduce him when it's all said and done. Now, I want to skip Calvin because I really don't want to go there right now. But Calvin, who's that one player we need to grab off waivers right now?
It's Taysom Hill, because at some point we might hear Taysom Hill's music and he might be coming down the aisle to tag out Jameis Winston, and it could happen. Listen, you talked about Derek Carr and how great he was. He's got 800 and something passing yards this season. Jameis Winston has 260 passing yards, okay, in 2 games. This is not good. Now, granted, he's throwing to Lil Jordan Humphrey and Marcus Callaway and Juwan Johnson and to nobody, right? I mean, so we got to factor that in, of course. But what he is doing is turning the ball over last week twice. He got sacked 4 times. Those are the kind of things that kill an offense. And all he has in front of him this week is the New England Patriots, and Bill Belichick knows a thing or two about making quarterbacks look bad and exposing their weaknesses. And there's a lot put on film last week that could expose this Saints offense. And Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill. He's not going to be scared to pull the trigger on that. And here's the thing. When Taysom Hill was starting, you may not think he's a quarterback. You might think he's a tight end. Fine. He is a productive fantasy quarterback when he's on the field. He was QB6 in his 4 starts last year during his time there. He could absolutely do that again because he's going to produce on the ground. And you know what? If you're having problems with your receiving options, why not put in somebody who can at least make something work in the running game? We'll see.
And for me, it's Rondell Moore. You know what I mean? We talked about him. He's only rostered in 24.9% of ESPN leagues right now. That is way too low. Less than 25%. That means he's available 75%. I just did the math there. See how that works? That's some fantastic math. He is second in the league in yak. And I guarantee you, when it's all said and done, I feel like Sesame Street just called out for me. Anyway, when it's all said and done, he's going to lead the league in yak when it's all said and done. I promise you that. Get him on your roster now. 11 receptions, 16 targets, 182 yards in 2 games, 16.5 yards per reception. Last week against Minnesota, 7 receptions, 8 targets, 114 yards. He had that 77-yard one off the get-go. Get him now before it's too late. Please, I'm begging you. 25%. Come on, man. Speaking of that, Tera, you can see I'm getting a little worked up here, a little emotional, getting a little high-strung. Who are some players we need to relax on? I'm going to relax.
Great transition, man. You're killing it.
Yeah, man.
In the zone.
Very nice. For me, it's Robert Woods. I understand. Unfortunately, he is not going to the proper amount of breakfast with Matt Stafford in order to build a great foundational relationship the way that Cooper Kupp is. But
Cooper Butt?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp.
Is that safe to say then?
Sorry, I'm a 5-year-old. I'm sorry.
Maybe Matt Stafford is a butt guy.
Maybe.
Oh man.
Where are we going?
Cooper
back on track, Sarah, please.
Back on track. Cooper Kupp, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I think, we saw that Robert Woods' snap count was a little bit lower than we would expect in week 1, and then it shot back up to almost 100. It's not going to be the exclusive Cooper Kupp show for the rest of the year. Robert Woods is going to be fine. Just relax on it.
Like Aaron Rodgers says, relax. And Major, who do we need to relax on? You tell us someone now.
I'm going with DK Metcalf. He hasn't played bad, but he hasn't had that big game. Like Tyler Lockett is over there racking up 100-yard games, and DK is like 50 yards here, 60 yards there. I'm waiting for him to have that explosion game with 150 yards, 180 yards. When he gets rolling, the yards add up. And with Russ really cooking right now, I think we're going to get to it soon. Like, he can't go too long without having one of those explosion games. So, yeah, DK's my guy.
And Calvin, can we expect any explosion out of the guy you need us to relax on?
I think it's going to depend on the injury he suffered in the preseason, which we forgot about. And we're judging him now when he really is not fully all the way back healthy. I think he's going to get there. And I think we need to relax on what we've seen the first 2 weeks. Listen, the fact that he fumbled for the very first time in his career in a big spot on a Monday night, that hurts, right? I mean, that's the thing that you hate to see. Don't freak out and sell him low because of that. What are we doing?
As you know, I was never high on him to begin with, so I like to think I was right on target. Speaking of everything we've said, everyone needs to relax on Zach Moss. We talked about Quez Watkins and the point chasing going on. Zach Moss is not going to be a thing. It's not happening. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns last week. Yes, those numbers look good for fantasy. Yes, this, yes, that, whatever. Devin Singletary is by far the best back in Buffalo behind Josh Allen. I'll say it right now. And Josh Allen hasn't been very good as a running back through the first 2 weeks. He's been outplayed by, said Daniel Jones, if you look at the fantasy points. But seriously, 10 touches, 37 yards. He got bailed out by those 2 touchdowns. Don't let the fantasy points sway you here. Stay away. So these are the guys we're telling you to relax on. Mine's a little bit different. I kind of went a little different route on that. But who do we need to start panicking about now? Tara, you mentioned the Denver Broncos backfield a little bit earlier in the show. Are you in full panic mode?
I am a little bit in full panic mode. The problem I have here is with Melvin Gordon. So first of all, the split between him and Javonte Williams is literally dead even. Like they are planning it out to the T, that the snap count and the amount of carries are going to be a legitimate even split. And my problem is that Javonte has actually been more productive. His yards per carry, more productive. He's looked better. When you look at week 1, like, okay, you look at the stats overall and you say, okay, yeah, no, Melvin Gordon did better. Okay, he had a 70-yard touchdown run, which was fantastic. Great for him, great for fantasy production. But if you take that away, he was actually 10 carries for 30 yards. Yikes. And then on top of that, against Jacksonville, as I mentioned before, his stats were 13 carries for 31 yards. It hasn't been good. He hasn't looked good at all. And I don't think it's him, really. It might be a function of there's something weird going on with that running game as a whole. And, it's affecting Javonte as well, but he technically does just look better. So I don't think it's going to get any better moving forward as, the best it's going to be is an even split. And as they move forward, they might actually transition to Javonte a little bit more. So yeah, I'm worried about Melvin Gordon. I don't think he's getting that load carry that we were expecting.
I think a lot of us were expecting Javonte Williams to take over gradually as the season went on, but week 8, week 9, week 10. So I thought we all felt we were probably going to get some good value out of Melvin Gordon there, especially Denver letting the wheels kind of fall off on him throughout the season, ride him hard all year long. Major, give us another running back that we need to start panicking about.
Yeah, I'm going James Robinson. Like, he's currently ranked 39 in rushing, and that's not a good sign for a running back who had 1,000 yards just a year ago. Even when NTE went down, I thought it was going to be J-Rob season, but not so much. So hopefully he can get on track. Maybe the whole offense in general needs to get on track. I don't know if it's the coaching or if it's like the new quarterback, but something's off out there. I thought they were going to be a bad team, but I thought they would eat fantasy-wise. I thought all the players, they have some really good talent out there. So, yeah, I'm panicking on James Robinson right now.
Put myself off of mute here again. Calvin, when you hear the song "When the Saints Come Marching In," how does that make you feel?
Not great right now, but I did adjust because we did talk about the Saints a little bit, so I made an adjustment to talk about somebody we haven't really talked too much about, and that's Saquon Barkley, because Saquon Barkley, Tara talked about taking one run away from Melvin Gordon. What if we take that 140-something yard run away from Saquon last week, and that turns into a really ugly game? We kind of expected it to be. He doesn't look all the way healthy, but you know what? It's not just that. I don't need him to just recover from the ACL injury. I need him to recover from having Jason Garrett as his offensive coordinator. When is that recovery going to happen? Because until that happens, I'm out. I'm not in on him at all.
You know what? Garrettitis affects 1 in every 4 men. It's true. It really is. Now, I'm going to flip the script. I mean, we've kind of gone through this whole running back carousel. I'm going to go with the RB23 right now, and that is Jonathan Taylor. We look at him in PPR RB23. We did not invest a first-round draft pick for an RB23. We got a guy in week 1 with 56 yards rushing. Week 2, 51 yards rushing. He's had more red zone carries than anyone else and done nothing with it. So yes, it's time to start panicking on a guy you invested a first-round draft pick on in your thing. Now, with that all said, last year he did the same thing. So maybe that's what we really need to start panicking on, because once is, it is what it is. Twice, now it starts to become a trend. He's starting to show that he is a slow starter. Now, is that something that's happening in the offseason? That's something maybe we need to look at a little bit more before we make it an investment going forward. Maybe he turns it up like he did last year. We'll see how that breaks out. But right now, I'm getting a little panicky because of what it took for me to get him on my roster to begin with. And I'm putting him out there every week as my RB1. Chances are maybe I got lucky and was able to double tap at the back end of the first round, maybe a Jonathan Taylor, maybe a Nick Chubb kind of combination. And then I could justify it a little bit better. But, I'm a little bit concerned there. But you know what? Major, can I get a little Enrique Iglesias from you this week? Anything?
I don't even know who that is.
You can be my hero? Come on now, man. I can't wait till I make you sing Casey and JoJo next week. It's going to happen. We're going to get it to happen. Anyway, Tara, who's going to be your unsung hero that's going to carry your fantasy teams to victory this week?
Major, you really don't know who Enrique Iglesias is?
I've heard the name, but I can't.
Baby.
I can't. I don't even know what that is.
Oh.
I heard the name. I just don't know like a song. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was like a whole moment for me there. Like,
Was that
like a decade of
time
ago.
trying to be
damn Tara? Like, what's going on?
He spends all of his time being the amazing fantasy analyst he is. He doesn't have time for all that music nonsense.
It's true. It's true. His intro song is nothing. He just walks in. Anyway, the question was, what was the question? Unsung hero.
We are off the rails today, dude.
Who's gonna be your Enrique Iglesias for week 3?
Sure.
So it's gonna be
hero baby?
It's gonna be James White, which I know sounds crazy, but we just kind of have to forget that 2020 existed because it was a really rough year for him. So we just go back to 2019, and if you go back to 2019, there's no transition. He is literally becoming the same person that he was back in 2019, and I love it. And he's legitimately just like a PPR god. He's not really going to get much work on the ground. I do, Damian Harris. I do like Damian Harris, and he gets the bulk of the carry on the ground. That's not going to change. But James White doesn't need that. He just needs a little bit, and then he's going to get you, 6, 7, 8 receptions for, a decent amount of yardage. When you add all that up, and then every other week or so, you're getting in a touchdown as well. I mean, that's a fantastic combination. He's someone that you can legitimately rely on as a flex right now. So, he's someone that is really going to be saving a lot of fantasy rosters. If you grabbed him off waivers, I hope so.
I think what I'm really hearing is Mac Jones is turning into Tom Brady. Major, who is your unsung hero going into week 3? Who's going to be that guy?
I'm going to go with Davis Mills, quarterback, Houston Texans. Everyone gets this guy's name wrong. They call him Mills Davis, David Mills Fields. I don't know. But once upon a time in 2017, Davis Mills was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school. He had a couple knee surgeries at Stanford. But he did perform well in the combines, and that's how he became a Houston Texan. And they believe him a lot. That's like the first pick that new regime out there selected was him. And now with Tyrod being on IR, Davis Mills has he has a chance to be a young like Tom Brady moment when Brady took over from Bledsoe and went on to be the greatest quarterback ever. Maybe, I don't know. Well, the future is out there. We don't know.
Are we going to put this in writing?
Not yet.
Davis Mills and Tom Brady.
Put it on the board.
I mean, it's there. The writing is there.
Yeah.
After Tyrod Taylor came Josh Allen in Buffalo. After Tyrod Taylor came Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. After Tyrod Taylor came Justin Herbert in Los Angeles.
I didn't even get that point. Great job. Yeah, it's there.
After Tyrod Taylor, is it Davis Mills in Houston?
Davis Mills?
No, probably not. Calvin.
It's probably not Calvin. Go ahead, man.
My Enrique Iglesias this week is Sterling Shepard, who just continues to quietly have a great time. And they're facing a great matchup this week for him to be able to put up fantasy points. We're running short on time, so I won't waste. Look, Sterling Shepard's boring enough. I won't waste your time hearing about him anymore. Just starting.
Yeah.
The blueprint is there. We've seen what he's done. He's guaranteed 10 targets, 9 receptions. Book it right now.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the tight end is a wasteland right now. We've seen this whole wasteland of tight ends. It's Kelsey, it's Waller. We can't even throw Kittle in there right now. That's how bad the tight end position is. So for me, this week, my unsung hero is Austin Hooper because of the fact that is OBJ in? Is he out? Is he in? Is he out? Who cares? It don't matter. Jarvis Landry, he's out of the lineup. So here it is. Mayfield targeted tight ends 12 out of 21 passes last week. That's going to be Austin Hooper this week. You've got no other options there at tight end. You really have nothing to lose. Get Austin Hooper in your lineup. Now, Tara, I'm going to ask you this here. Who's a player outside of the games of the week that we need to fade? Who's someone we need to fade this week that we haven't kind of talked about already?
Again, you know what? I'm promised that I am not picking on anyone here.
You got your feelings hurt last week. Just admit it.
Just admit it. A little bit. Go ahead.
But I'm sorry, you have to fade the entire New Orleans pass game. And, and a lot of that has to do with New England, obviously. You guys are facing New England. It's rough. We hear, Bill Belichick likes to take away the number one pass catching option. The only problem I have is that we don't really know who that pass catching option is in the Saints offense. So I don't think that really matters. I think that we just need to, kind of steer clear of that. It's a combination of a really bad situation there.
Major.
True.
Who we fade?
I'm gonna copy Tera a little bit and just say the whole Jets offense. I just think that offense is a little too young and a little too early in the season for them to do anything. It takes a little time for young players to mature a little bit into the league. But I'm fading the whole Jets offense.
Calvin, who you fading?
I'm fading Antonio Gibson. I am just not. I'm not loving what I'm seeing. He's got a little shoulder injury, so he's a little bit banged up. His usage right now is concerning. He just faced two teams that when they faced, so we've only got 2 data points at this point, but the 2 teams he faced, he was by far the worst running back of those groups that face that defense. And now he goes and faces Buffalo, who's the number 3rd ranked defense against the run right now. Not great. They shut down a couple of pretty good teams themselves. They faced Miami last week, and the Steelers, they shut down Najee Harris. And are you confident saying Gibson's going to have more success than him? I am not. Buffalo is on a mission. I don't think Buffalo is going to be messing around at all this week, and Gibson is going to be. You may not have a better option, but if you got anybody close to being a better option, I'm taking him out of my lineup.
Yeah, and speaking of guys that you may not have better options for, but you probably really do. My guy is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Currently, he's depending on the scoring system, he's like the RB 46 right now. That is not good. That is ungood. You know what I'm saying? give me JD McKissick. Give me Tony Pollard. You know what? Be like the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me Darrell Williams, okay? That's where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming. Even the Chiefs would rather play Darrell Williams right now than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you should too with your fantasy rosters. That's where we're at right now. Things can change. It only takes one big play here and there to kind of swing that momentum. But right now, from what we're seeing out of a CAH, I can't trust him in my lineup. Calvin talked about Antonio Gibson there. Maybe last year was more of a thing for him. He had 30% of his points against the Cowboys. Or 70% of his points came against Cowboys, whatever that number was. Most of his points came against Cowboys. We're not getting any points out of Helaire right now. Tara, player who's someone you need to start this week?
Now, he was listed as a panic player earlier, but I don't feel that way. I feel like this is the week. I feel like this is the matchup. It is now time for Saquon's comeback. He's feeling good. He's looking good. And I think he's ready to get back into action to old Saquon. And I think against the Falcons is the perfect time to do it. So I've been sitting him. I've been doing my due diligence and making the right choice and not putting him in my starting lineup. And it's working out. But I think now is the time. Put him back in your starting lineup. Go ahead. Have confidence. It's this week.
You know what? If there's a week to get him going, it is the Falcons. I don't think he's physically quite there. Maybe he's about 80% going into this game, but 80% of Barkley's a lot better than 100% of Edwards-Helaire. So, Major, who is that one player that you need to start this week?
I'm going with Austin Eckler. LA Chargers is going against Kansas City. Kansas City's defense is ranked last, giving up 200 yards per game. When Eckler is healthy, he shows he's like CMC light. The guy can catch the ball. He runs hard. I think that, and the the Chargers are going to have to run the ball to keep Mahomes off the field. So look for Eckler to have a huge game.
And yeah, if you're hoping to beat the Chiefs, you got to do two things. You have to get pressure with four guys. Right. That's one way you got to do it. And you've got to score lots of points. You got to get that offense going. And the Chargers, Mike Williams is doing his thing. Keenan Allen's quite not got there. Eckler, I think, is that guy that kind of runs through. We see him get the receptions last week that we didn't see in week 1. Calvin, you got some numbers to kind of back up your start of the week?
The only number that I need is the number 1, which is how many horns a unicorn has, and that is Kyle Pitts. And he is the guy that he's who you want to get into your lineup this week, no doubt. At tight end, look, all of the metrics behind the numbers are there. He's got targets. He looked a lot better in terms of getting separation and getting work in the passing game this past week against Tampa Bay. In comes the New York Giants. I think he's going to have a really, really good game, as I think this offense itself, with Matt Ryan, Ridley, I think they get back on track a little bit more. Remember, this is a new system. This is a brand new system that Matt Ryan's learning from Arthur Smith. It's not the same one he's been having. So, look, taking a little bit of time. Again, practice some patience. It's going to be okay. RELAX. Right, Tara?
Yes, exactly.
Relax, go to it.
Oh, there we go. I was just trying to get my groove.
I don't know all the words though, but I got that much.
I kind of dance like the gopher in Caddyshack. It's basically a little bit of shuffle. It's all right.
That's
get on board.
In your mustache.
Probably. That's facts. You can fact check that one. Tyson Williams. Get on board with him. 11 fantasy points in back-to-back games. Currently RB15. Back-to-back top 24 weeks. 90-plus scrimmage yards back-to-back. And he's playing the Lions this week. Come on, man. The Lions have allowed the most fantasy points to running back since 2020. You saw what Aaron Jones did last week. 4 touchdowns, both in the run game and the pass game. Elijah Mitchell back in week 1, 104 yards and a tutty. Tyson Williams, easy RB1 week this week. Top 12 running back week. Tyson Williams, book it right now. Get him in your lineup. Now you thought that was spicy. Wait until after Tara's bold prediction. Then we'll get some real spicy ones. But Tara, what's your bold prediction for week 3?
So, I've talked about this guy. I've talked about this team. I've talked about this matchup. The New York Giants are taking on the Atlanta Falcons, and we have seen how that has gone for 2 weeks in a row. And we've seen how Daniel Jones has gone against even better defenses for 2 weeks in a row. And I think that Daniel Jones, my bold prediction, will be a top 3 quarterback this week. In my mind, I want to say more than that, but I'm not going to, because I'm not playing this game to make Super Bowl predictions. I'm playing this game to win. So I'm going like somewhere close. It's like hey, now it is bolder than what some of you guys have. So whatever. Daniel Jones, top 3 quarterback, bucket.
Major, give us something bold.
I'm going Mahomes and Herbert combined for 700+ passing yards.
That sounds pretty average, to be honest.
Yeah, like 350 apiece. How many yards does Derek Carr have, Matt, through 2 games?
817.
Okay, yeah. Through 2 games.
It's okay.
Okay, let's say 800 yards.
Okay, so we got two 400-yard passers. I can get on board
so
with that
many.
as being bold.
See, now you guys trying to I'm staying with my. I'll need to. I'll go.
We got to throw touchdown predictions in there too. How many are we getting? Like 8 touchdowns too? Like where are we going?
I would say 6. 6 plus.
All right, okay. Now we're feeling it. 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. All right, that's bold. That's bold.
That's
Calvin.
crazy bold. It's not happening. That's crazy bold.
Right. See, they just talked me out of like you guys trying to catch up. I see what you're doing, man.
That is
701 yards. Calvin, give me something bold.
Speaking of catching up, so this is a I'm going to explain my logic on how I got here. So Matt made a prediction that Christian McCaffrey was going to get over 100 rushing yards and over 100 receiving yards. And Tera gave him a hard time saying that's not bold. In other words, like it's easy. It's going to happen. I also looked at the standings and me and Matt are both 0-2. One of us needs a win. So my bold prediction is Christian McCaffrey gets less than 100 yards rushing and less than 100 yards receiving. So I'm going the opposite way. And yeah, one of us should get a win.
And according to Tera, neither one of those is bold because he hasn't done 100 and 100 yet. And that wasn't bold enough. So for you saying what he hasn't done 2 weeks in a row for a third week in a row, that can't be bold. In fact, like Major, I feel like I got goated out of my 100 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing. 3 tutties was my prediction for Christian McCaffrey. But I changed that because I felt guilty because I wasn't bold enough. So give me Jalen Reagor over 150 yards receiving. Monday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys. Throw a touchdown in there. It's the Jalen Reagor breakout game.
That's way too bold. That's way too bold. You could go back to CMC. I'm sorry.
Wait, which one's your official one?
My official one's going to be the Jalen Reagor one now.
Okay,
That's
then I
what
have
happened.
another one.
Oh, now we're getting crazy. You don't get extra points. We do 1 point a week. Come on.
This one's also directed right at Matt. Clyde Edwards-Helaire outscores Tyson Williams this week.
Oh, that sounds like a bet. I think we need to figure out a side bet for Tera and Major for their game, and we're going to have to think about something for us here too. We're running low on time, but I love it. Tyson Williams versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Packers versus San Francisco. Make sure you tune in to DLF show, Taco Tuesday, Calvin, Tyler. They're going to break it all down for you. Major, he's coming strong here. Get ready for a new show coming from him. He's over on Fantasy Points on Sundays, giving you a little bit of that pregame meal there with our boy there, Nick Script there. Check it out. You're going to want to get that. Tera, Fantasy Alarm, Fantasy Pros, videos everywhere. Any company named Fantasy something, Tera's there right now. Get in on it. And catch my breath here. And tomorrow, 6:35 p.m. Eastern, catch me live with Howard on Fantasy Alarm, Channel 87, XM Radio. For some reason, they're bringing me back again. I don't know what, but I got a little something special for everyone on the show. You're going to want to tune in to catch it. It may not make no sense when it's all said and done, but it's going to be previewing how I feel about the Texans-Panthers game. So you're going to want to check that out. Come at me. Come on. We know it. It's going to be a good show. Yes, Calvin. What did I miss?
I'm on Front Yard Fantasy tomorrow at 2 Central, 3 Eastern. If you guys are around, come check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do tiers. And we're going to do tiers of sitcom dads. That we're gonna rank sitcom dads on that show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm on Dynasty Junkies that night. I'm really excited about that with Rocky and Addison's going to join me from DLF.
Now you just showing
and make sure you. So that's it. That's the show for this week. I got kids to pick up. I got to do some planking after the show. I started doing some planking here. The fun part about doing a planking is when I start to plank, it's more like seesawing because there's no above the ground there. So it's fun. It's interesting.
I'm sure you're doing it right.
Like, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Like a plank.
So again, next week after Calvin loses this,
right now for us. Can you show us what
live?
Right now.
No, I can't do that. I got this nice little screen behind me. Next week, Calvin won't have any eyebrows because he will lose our bet on the Edwards-Helaire and Tyson Williams. Make sure you check that out. It's going to be fun watching Calvin with no eyebrows. And Major is going to say Casey and JoJo all my life. He's going to bring it. That's the end of the show. Catch you later next week.
And Tara's going to shave her head if